So you're actually a professor in creative enterprise and a spoken word artist. And you made this film together with 2 other people. So do you want to give us some background before watching it? Yeah.
Thank you very much. And first of all, I'd like to thank Emily and the festival for showing Cancer Alley here to a new audience. So I'll say something very briefly about the background to this particular film. Cancer Alley features a landscape of extreme destruction, extreme pollution. In Louisiana, in America, there's a big strip of land between New Orleans and Baton Rouge, which has been heavily polluted by the petrochemical industry in the making of plastics. We all use plastic, unfortunately, but sometimes we don't think about the implications of, where that plastic is made and the effects of that industry on the people that live in that area. My 2 filmmakers, Pamela Falkenberg and Jack Cochran, this is my 4th collaboration with them. I'd worked with them on my previous project, The Book of Hours, which is 48 poetry films made by 27 filmmakers. That's all online. And this particular project, Jack and Pam spent a lot of time in 2001 and 2021 and 2022 documenting and taking images of this region. It's a highly sensitive region. You're not actually allowed to film there. So they were filming from inside a car. So that's why there's lots of images of, looking like it's being filmed from a car, because it was. And they really wanted to draw attention to the effects of this extreme pollution and also to the lack of corporate responsibility about sort of big global companies and how their pollution affects the people that live there. To research this film, I read a lot about Cancer Alley and also accounts of the people who live there in this region, who are mostly some of the poorest, most marginalised people in that area of America. I read their personal accounts. And obviously reading all that was quite depressing, and I was looking for a positive, some sort of positive outcome to this. And during the time of making this film, I listened to one of the talks by Minari, who is the indigenous leader of the Sapari tribe in the equatorial rainforests in Ecuador. And I was inspired by his words. So the poem that was created for this film is constructed out of the words of the people that live in that region, and also the message of hope from Minari. The way that we made the film was we wanted a true collaboration. I didn't just want to give them a poem and say, go away, make a film. So they sent me lots of reels of images, which I looked at, read the accounts of the people who lived there, and then I constructed the poem, which I sent back to them. So there was a sort of two-way process. It took quite a bit of time, really, because they live in America and I live in the UK. So the whole film took about 6 months to make. And it was a true collaboration, that it contains my words, it contains their images in a sort of blended unity. And hopefully this works. This particular film has been screened at 22 festivals. This is number 22. And our last project from this film was to create a hologram installation that was shown at the Bristol Poetry Festival this year in April. And so we're now looking for other places to show that hologram installation. And I think that's as much as I want to say right now. Let's look at the film, and maybe there'll be time to ask them questions afterwards.
Yeah. So let's watch Cancer Alley, and we will have a discussion afterwards.
I had not heard of Cancer Alley before, and to me, I was shocked when I heard about it. When I was in a conversation with Pamela and Jack, they were saying perhaps we could make a project about Cancer Alley, and I said, what's Cancer Alley? And they sent me links to this region, and I was shocked that something that is so extreme and so extensive is absolutely hidden, and not many people know about it. So that's what triggered off this particular project.
Yeah. And also, how did they actually film it? Do you want to tell us some about it? Yeah.
They went on 2 extended trips in 2021 and 2022, travelling around the region with a camera. And as I said earlier, they're not really supposed to film there, it's sort of forbidden. So they were filming from their car. So that's why it looks like a car. What I love about their work is the soundtrack. I love the way that they've got those industrial noises and the sort of crunching of machines, and also their shots of the natural landscape, the beautiful swamp forests that are just behind all these factories. There is incredible natural world there that is in danger of being destroyed. I found that really fascinating. Finding about the images of these beautiful swamp forests right bang next to these sort of huge chemical plants.
Yeah, and also people live there. Yeah, and you told me that you had a lot of interviews to listen to. So how did you then use them when writing the text, the poem?
I listened to the interviews of the residents in that particular region, trying to understand their point of view, and quite often when people live in extreme polluted places, people say, oh, why don't you just move away? But if you're poor, if you have no money, if your family comes from that region, you don't have that option. So I really wanted to get inside the mindset of the people who live there. And one of the reasons why we chose a poem to tell this story is because of the emotional power of poetry. We could have just done a documentary, but we didn't. We had a poetry film. So that story of somebody, coming there in the 1950s, living in a shack, but it was home and enjoying it. It's like the combined stories of lots of different people that actually live in that region.
So, yeah, through this process, you worked with film and text and the sound, and then it becomes a mix of different ways of also a lot to take in when watching it. Do you want to say also a few words about the hologram, maybe? Because you said it very quickly before, but yeah.
For me, a poetry film is an immersive experience. You do get immersed in the words and the images and the sound. And we wanted to expand that feeling of immersion. We thought, what would it be like if, the lines, the yellow raindrops are falling, we actually could project the yellow raindrops. And talking about smoke and toxic air, if we could give the illusion of smoke and toxic air. So I applied for funding, and I got funding to create the hologram as an experiment, as a trial. A poetry film hologram had never been made before. So we were working with hologauze technology, where there is a screen at the back, a screen in the middle distance, and images are projected onto the screen, so you have an illusion of 3D. And also you can have lights and surround sound. But the hologram that we created was an expected prototype. So at the moment, we're looking to develop that to increase the level of immersion so that you really do feel you are there in that region, listening to those noises, seeing those sights, and sort of experiencing that whole sort of total effect of being in a toxic atmosphere.
Yeah, it definitely adds to the experience. And a last question then. This is one way of presenting it here today, and as you told us, the hologram. Has there been any outcomes of this? Has there been anything, people had said when watching this?
Part of our process of creating the prototype was that we had a researcher who was evaluating it and talking to people that had seen it and what they felt about it, and collating those responses. And we wanted to really understand from an audience point of view what they felt about watching, an experience about extreme pollution and did they feel connected to it? Did they feel distance from it? And what was interesting was that even though people didn't live there, they were reflecting on where they do live. For example, in the UK, we've got a lot of problems at the moment with polluted water, and people were making that connection and watching Cancer Alley think, oh, we've got extreme polluted water in the UK in our lakes and rivers. We too are living with extreme pollution. So we wanted to see whether showing Cancer Alley was like a wake-up call for people. This has got to stop. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And I also wonder if there is anyone here who would like to, who has a question for Lucy.
I just wanted to have these images, this vision that you talk about, the dead crow and the black leaves and the yellow drops. Is that something you get from the interviews of people there?
Absolutely, yeah. All those details in the poem about people's, that quote, some days the air is so bad I put my head in the fridge to breathe. That was directly from one of the interviews with people. The yellow raindrops, the dead crows in the garden, the plants dying. This is direct experience of people living there. Yeah.
Very strong images.
Yeah.
It's shocking. Yeah, shocking.
Yeah, and you also wanted to add some hope, you told me.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So the film ends with those beautiful words from Anari about we are the forest.
Yeah.
That we too have got a responsibility to our natural landscape. We're not separate. We are part of the living world. I think that's a very strong message.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyone else? Yeah.
Thank you so much. You said it's been screened 22 times.
Yes.
Is that only in art and poetry settings, or also political?
Oh, interesting. It hasn't yet been screened in America. It's in that particular area. It's been to a couple of short film festivals in America, but not in Texas. We want to take the hologram to Texas. And we're sort of working on that at the moment, because that showing that project in the region that it's connected to, I think would be very powerful. The 22 places it's been screened include festivals like this, bigger festivals, big short film festivals, poetry festivals, and other types of places that arts festivals where films are being shown. I would really like it to be shown in that region near Baton Rouge, but as I mentioned, there is a lot of deliberate silencing about Cancer Alley and its effects. It might be difficult for us to do that. Yeah, so that there is a political message there.
Yeah.
And there was no people, the interviews were not filmed, as I understand. It was because it was a choice to not show people, or it's because they were afraid of being shown?
No, it wasn't their fear of being filmed. It was, the message is, it's like if I was showing one person, it's not just one story. I wanted to get the idea, this is the experience of a lot of people. And also the way that extreme pollution dehumanises people. That what we see is the landscape. There's no people in that at all, are there? It all just is buildings and countryside. And there was a deliberate decision there not to include people in that film.
Yeah, so thank you for telling us about this. And now we know about this place, and that's really good, I think.
Thank you very much
Yeah.
indeed. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lucy, for coming here.